It's been a while since we've seen the Civic, but I'm at a point where I actually need it. So let's make it gooder. Throughout the previous videos, we have gotten this car so that I can drive it around town, but it hasn't really been good. There's noises and vibration up front that make me not really too confident to take it on long distances. So I'm going to do a couple things to narrow it down. First off, I'm not super confident in the balancing of the existing wheels and tires, and it is winter time, so we may as well throw on the new snow tires. While changing the wheels, I noticed that the front driver's wheel had different lug nuts than everything else. Not sure where they came from, but you can see it's like half the size. So I swapped those out, and vibration's gone. Unfortunately, all the other noises are there, which means we're going to have to dig into the front suspension, but that will have to wait. More pressing, need to get the wipers working. We can start by getting the hood out of the way. Next, we'll remove the wiper arms. With the arms out of the way, we can get this cover off. There's a series of clips along the top that need to be pried out. They've put up kind of a fight, but I mean, they've probably been there for almost 30 years at this point. A little bit of persistence and care not to break them. Then there's also a series of clips along the front edge that you have to turn sideways. These weren't in the best condition, so I had to kind of fight with them a little bit. Plus, a couple of them were hidden underneath that gasket or the weather stripping for the rear of the hood. It took me a minute to find them. Once I figured it out, it eventually will come out. There we go. Engage struggle bus here. And there we go. With the cover out of the way, we can see everything that was hidden underneath. All this dirt along the metal channel, that's got to come out. That's not good for the metal. So we'll go ahead and there's the motor over there. Before we pull that out, we'll get this cleaned up. At this point, I can go ahead and start moving forward on removing this motor. I don't want to use power tools because I don't know the condition of these bolts. They've likely been in there since 97, 98. I don't know exactly when this was installed, but this one specifically gets really tight. So I have to work it back and forth so I don't destroy the threads. Right about here, I realize that it comes all the way through the firewall, so I'm able to spray the exposed threads with some penetrating oil, and that helps free it up. And then I can move forward with pulling this out of the car. There we go, nice and free. Once this harness is free, it's clear, no corrosion, which is a good sign. So let's move over to the bench. With the motor out of the way, it gives us the unique opportunity to get the cowl cleaned out and eliminate remnants of what appears to be a mouse nest. Over on the other side, you can see directly down into the blower motor. This is for your heat/AC. And this is why it is so important that if you drive or you don't drive your vehicle for a while, you set the air controls to recirc, because then it closes off the outside air and prevents mice and other critters from getting into your vents. Once I got the motor over to my bench, it became instantly obvious that they sent me the wrong motor. Fortunately, I ordered this far enough back that my return window is closed. So I guess we'll throw this back in the car and proceed with testing. All right. So I put the hood back on because I took it for a drive. But the motor's back in. We're going to do some testing. I'm not 100% sure that the motor is actually bad at this point. So I've got the test procedures from the official Honda manual, service manual. Make sure. All right, turn that to high. We'll probe out 1 negative, 4 positive. So this is backwards because that diagram is on the motor side. So 4 should be down here. We should see 11 volts. Okay. Nothing on 2. Okay. Let's turn it to low. There's someplace in low. I should see voltage on 4 and 2. And I don't. I see it on 3, but 3 is not part of this. Testing for the harness side says to go 5 positive and 3 negative. And I got nothing. Unless, let's turn it back to high. And nothing. So I'm thinking this might be an issue with the switch or the relay, because I only have voltage on high. Okay, well, let's hook up an alternate power source. 12 volts. And let's see if we can get that. There we go. And see if we have any activity. Oh, helps if you turn it on. There we go. Yep, there's low. Let's see if we get high. And high. Okay. Yep, motor's good. It's got to be something, either the combination switch or relay related. Further down the rabbit hole we go. In order to get to the combination wiper switch, I got to remove the steering wheel. And this is a problem because back when I installed the ghost key, I found out removing the airbag would be problematic. Well, we're going to deal with that today. The one side, fairly easy to get out. The other side is completely foobar. As you can see, somebody completely hogged out the female part of this Torx bolt. So the only choice we have is to drill it out. The head of the bolt came off without too much fanfare, but it left behind a washer that was kind of a pain to get out of there. Once I did, I could just pry the ear off of the remaining part of the bolt, and the airbag is free. With the airbag out of the way, the steering wheel came out without too much of a fight. Got to make sure to touch literally everything. And with the steering wheel out, I can remove the column surround. You can see how floppy it is. We will be addressing that a little bit later. But then we can pull out the, I don't know what it's called. It's cable assembly, whatever. Allows you to have wires for cruise control and horn, yet allow your steering wheel to spin. Right about here, I'm gonna commit a cardinal sin. Something I didn't need to do. You never cut wires. If I had investigated, I would have found it disconnects down at the bottom. Once I got the switch assembly on the bench and I started testing it, it literally exploded into the pieces you see here. So clearly it was the problem, and I had to order a new one. With the new switch installed, we can move on to a side project before putting this all back together. Back when I installed the ghost key, I had to remove the ignition switch assembly because the button for ghost key, I mounted it where the key would normally go, and this was in the way. The problem is the column surround mounts directly to this unit. So without it, it's all floppy, and it takes two hands to operate the button because you have to keep the surround from moving. So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut this at an angle, which will allow me to retain the mounting bosses, yet make room for the ghost key button. I should have had a camera pointed at the other direction, because when I cut that, the lock cylinder popped off and metal shavings came pouring out like a waterfall. It was kind of spectacular. Either way, there's now enough room that I should be able to reinstall this, and there will be plenty enough room for the ghost key and button, and it's the cable that comes out of the back of it. So let's put everything back together. At this point, we can button everything back up, reinstalling the combination switch. And then the clock spring. You gotta snake those wires back under. And yes, I fixed the mistake I made when I clipped those wires. Just need to make sure that everything's lined up properly up inside there so that the steering wheel will reinstall correctly. Okay, before I button everything back up, need to see if this switch fixed it, and also make sure that my lights and everything that I disconnected are working. So we'll all right, so far so good. Turn that off. Yep, no fuel lights, so we got headlights. It's dim on this side, that's what we expected because that one bulb is burned out. Slow. Fast. My wiper, or my... I wasn't expecting that spray. And intermittent. Ha 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 ha! Okay. So, turn this back off. Before I move on, I had hoped to swap over, since I had everything torn apart, I was going to swap over to a different steering wheel. The problem is, I want to keep my cruise. I got that cool bracket that allows me to keep my cruise controls, but they need to connect into this and need to maintain this clock spring. But the mount that is for this car does not work with this. So I'm just gonna have to go back to the old steering wheel for now. My ultimate goal, I'd like to get a S2000 steering wheel. So, we'll see. We'll see where we end up with that. Let me button it all back up and I'll come back to you. Okay, well, I've got everything back together and the column surround is now solid, which is awesome because this button has been kind of a pain because it required two hands. I had to hold this thing so I could push the button. Now it's secure. There's room for the button. Last thing left is to put steering wheel back on. We gotta feed all this stuff through here. Okay. Now it's just a matter of getting this wheel I think that probably gonna have to readjust this later, so I'll drive it without the airbag just to make sure. Right now the wheels are off the ground. And I don't have a steering lock. So that'll do for now. I'm gonna get everything plugged back in. This cable routing is kind of a pain. There we go. Like that. All right. This is taking me way too long, so I'm just gonna take the win where I can get it, and I'll mess with the suspension next time. Thanks. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, as it'll really help my channel. Best part is, it's absolutely free. Also, ring that bell for notifications of new videos. There's a lot coming, and I'd hate for you to miss out.